Welcome back to HowtoDandD. Oh yes, it's Monster Day, talking about monster lore. This is where you get all your monster lore, even the monster lore you didn't know you needed. So the Umber Hulk is going to be the topic for today. I'm hoping that this will be entertaining for you. I am going to warn you now, I have a lot. I didn't realise how much there was. There's a lot of lore on the Umber Hulk. And I also created a lot of stuff for the Umber Hulk, but that's beside the point. I'll put up this poll. Feel free to respond to it when you are able to do so, and just remember you can't change your vote. Once you select something, you're kind of stuck. This will obviously be the Umber Hulk lore, and then we'll open up at the end for Q&A, questions and answers after the presentation. And then once that's all done, you'll find at this point I will be probably doing a workshop, because I want to see if we need to remaster the Umber Hulk or make some other monster. That would be my desire. So there is a point behind all of this. Lore and maths. Yes. Okay. I've said all that. I think I'm generally all right. Grab some food, some drink, get comfortable, make sure you're ready, and we will buzz into this. Okay, not that bit of joke, but we'll see how we do. I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best. Can I make this funny? Who knows? Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Weller, and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. We're talking about insects? No, we're talking about monsters. The Umber Hulk. That's right, for Dungeons and Dragons 5e, or is it 4e or 3e or hang on, it's Umber Hulk lore. That's why we're here. We're talking about Umber Hulk lore, not necessarily the mathematics. I know some of you are right into that sort of thing, and that's fine, but no, I'm here to actually talk specifically about the lore behind this creature, what it sort of gives you, what it can do for you, what it can't do for you, things like that. That's all the intention for today. Let's give you all of the story behind this creature. Okay. The Umber Hulk. Surprisingly, there is an enormous amount of information on the Umber Hulk, and as a result, this is going to take a little while. The Umber Hulk is a powerful subterranean predator whose iron-like claws allow them to burrow through solid stone, and this means they can search out prey pretty much anywhere. Like, how do you hide from something like that? The Umber Hulk looks like something between a gorilla and a beetle or some sort of insect. It's tremendously strong. The Umber Hulk stands nearly 8 to 9 feet tall and about 5 feet wide, so it's an impressive creature. Muscles bulge beneath the Umber Hulk's thick, scaly hide, and their powerful arms and legs all have razor-sharp claws. The Umber Hulk has no neck to speak of, but the head features a powerful maw with rows of triangular teeth. There's more than one row of teeth here, people. The 8-inch Umber Hulk mandibles are capable of biting through hide and bone and potentially going right through steel. Generally, Umber Hulks are black, shaded to a lighter shade of yellowish grey on the front. The abominable horror from the depth of the earth is definitely what you would consider the Umber Hulk, because it burrows into cave complexes, dungeons, into the underdark settlements that exist down there, constantly in search of food. So those sort of fortunate enough, or is it lucky enough, to survive an Umber Hulk attack often don't remember very little, precious little in fact, as a result of the Umber Hulk's mind-scrambling gaze, provided you are able to, if you can resist it, great, and if you can't, you probably won't remember very much. The steel-hard chitin of its body can withstand rock falls that commonly take place when you are digging underground, so it can survive in its environment pretty well. So let's have a look at the biology of the Umber Hulk. And would you believe it? There is a little bit. There's a tiny bit of information on the biology of the Umber Hulk. But I have more for you, because I've done some research. Umber Hulks have 2 sets of evenly spaced eyes. One set is the compound insect-like eyes, and the other one are large lidded ape-like eyes on the outside, whereas the insect eyes are usually in the forehead. Uh, the compound insect eyes of the umber hulk, as I said, are in the forehead, and they're made up of many sort of very small black coin-sized lenses that emit a high-frequency pattern of light that actually hypnotizes other creatures. Wow. In addition, the larger outer eyes of the umber hulk provide the creature with infravision to a distance of about 90 feet, but it's not completely clear that that's in fact the case, but about 90 feet, allowing it to see energy waves, thermal changes, and heat sources. So it's basically got heat vision. The exoskeleton of the umber hulk is composed of chitin, a fibrous material derived from a mixture of glucose and a special high protein matrix. And this is actually held together by interlocking jigsaw suture lines, okay, that allow the armor to withstand immense pressure. Do you want me to say that again? Was that complicated enough? Okay. The head of the umber hulk is wide, and it has the whole head, in front of the head, is full of muscles that attach to the jaw, allowing them to bite with the enlarged mandibles with extreme force. The umber hulk has huge muscles, with kind of in comparison to its other creatures. Its muscle mass is actually relatively high for its body size, with usually most muscles are made up of different types of fibers, and the fibers that we're looking at are your slow twitch muscles, which is for endurance, and then there's fast twitch muscles. But umber hulks actually have an extremely high level of fast twitch muscle fibers compared to other creatures, and as a result they can actually exert immense force very quickly, which is not a good thing if you are on the tail end of that. The brain of the umber hulk has only one hemisphere and three lobes that are arranged very well for faster processing. They have the antennae lobe, which is basically any kind of feelers or antennae that they have on their body. That's where they get a lot of their input back to their body is through that, the antennae lobe. And then the optic lobe, which has to do with their eyes. And since they have two sets of eyes, they have a section of the brain designated specifically to that. And then finally is the protocerebrum. And this is really around learning and memory and the slightly higher function of an animal. Their brain is more like an insect than it is a human in many respects. But there's a lot that is not known about the brain, and this is the only thing I could find. The umber hulk has sensitive feeler-like hairs on the outside of its armor that sense any movement around it while it's in contact with the ground or underground. So it has to be in contact with the ground for those feelers to be actual sense everything. This is where they get the tremor sense from. The digestive tract of the umber hulk is exceptionally long, while harboring these symbiotic protozoans and bacteria which digest almost anything without them contracting diseases, which is very useful. So they can eat pretty much anything they like. Rather than a nose, because it doesn't have one, the umber hulk has a series of gill-like openings in their almost non-existent neck. So it's on the sides here. And basically, this is probably going back to the fact that its origins are in fact aquatic. And there is actually another monster very much like the umber hulk that may in fact be the original creature that it came from. But then again, maybe not. Generally, the umber hulk can weigh between 800 and 1750 pounds. They can grow bigger, but that's generally their weight size. The umber hulk has a burrowing rate of about 10 feet every few seconds if they're going through solid stone, to about 60 feet every few seconds if they're going through soft earth. Owing to their really wide and heavy bodies, they can't properly maneuver in an open space, and they can often wind up or end up lumbering around and not being able to sort of focus themselves particularly well. They are better suited for tunnels and underground than they are for open spaces. Not to mention, they don't do well above ground as it is because of their light sensitivity. They have a lot of light sensors on in their eyes, so that kind of messes them up a lot. Combat with a umber hulk is terrifying. And here is what you probably need to know if you are going to be dealing with an umber hulk, and that is, for all of their monstrous features and nature, the umber hulk is actually quite intelligent, or as wise as their opponents. So I would say a fairly wise creature in comparison to a lot of their opponents and other creatures and monsters you might encounter. The umber hulk usually dig to a point adjacent to the main corridor if they're underground, and then wait and peek through a crack they have made until some sort of prey or creature walks by. So then the concealed umber hulk will then spring out upon whoever's there and startle the victim and proceed to eat them or attack them. When using ambush techniques, the umber hulk's opponents are usually at a huge disadvantage and they're likely to get surprised. It's not unusual for that to take place. Other tactics involving sort of planned cave-ins are things that an umber hulk will do. They will also create dead-end tunnels where the umber hulk will then wait for the victim to come to them and then spring out from the wall and then attack them and eat them. In melee, the umber hulk can deliver a vicious bite, but understandably their main weapon is in fact their claws. They do far more damage with that, and it's much easier for them to actually attack a creature and damage it and rip it to pieces with their claws than their teeth. Looking into the umber hulk's eyes will cause confusion unless you can resist it. There is a possibility of doing so. If you have a strong mind, you might be able to do that. Nearby beings that make contact or eye contact with the umber hulk's smaller compound eyes will have their mind scrambled, causing them to wander in random directions, lashing out at nearby allies or individuals who are right next to them, or simply stand there dazed and stunned and confused like a possum hit by the headlights of a car. Umber hulks never fight to the death unless cornered, which is rare since this creature can actually dig through stone. If you actually press this creature, if they're hard pressed, an umber hulk won't hesitate to cause a cave-in, and then once the cave-in has crushed their enemy, they will dig their way out to freedom. Advanced umber hulk strategies usually involve creating circular patterns or pathways so that people lose their way, initiating a flood, so digging their way up to a stream or a river or even a lake or even the ocean, and then releasing the water, because an umber hulk can actually breathe underwater. Would you believe it? And they can also create pit traps. So, if you want to have a pitfall trap, yes, an umber hulk can dig something like that for you. So that is the combat aspect of this creature. When we look at the habitat and society of an umber hulk, there's a lot of information. There's an enormous amount of information. So hold on tight. Umber hulks dwell in the depths of the earth. We know this. The umber hulk will raid dungeons for food, much the way an anteater would do so when they raid like an ant colony, and they eat their fill, and once they've eaten their fill, they will move on and let the colony recover. So they never eat a food source to exhaustion. That would not be something an umber hulk does. So they're actually relatively smart. They're not like some of the other creatures you would face. Usually the umber hulk is a solitary hunter. It doesn't usually hunt as a pack. Males and female umber hulk mate, and then they go their separate ways. So once they've done their business and gone through the process of making babies, poof, the male's gone. 1 to 3 young are born about a year later after the female umber hulk is pregnant, and usually the female will create a special nursery by hollowing out a section of ground with their claws. During the umber hulk's infancy, the mother will need to hunt for the hulklings. This is the smaller umber hulk, killing as much as possible to feed them, because they require an immensely high protein diet, but also an immense amount of food. And after they have fully grown, she will then start a new litter. So it's a constant process for the female, and there's a reason for this, but we'll explain that shortly. 2 years later, after the hulklings have developed to a large enough size, the umber hulk mother will begin taking them on her with her to go hunting, and they will learn how to hunt properly. It is during this period where the hulklings are hunting with the mother that some unfortunate victims may stumble across more than one umber hulk at a time, and that's obviously not going to result in anything good. Umber hulks actually speak a very primitive, primal, brutal, harsh language of their own creation called Hulkish, of all things. Hulkish consists of various hissing sounds, grunting noises, combined with some gestures, as well as movement with their eyes and mouth and mandible movements as well. So there's a lot going on. So you've got some sound, but also a lot of body language tied in here as well. I am not sure if there's supposed to be any kind of scent given out by an umber hulk. Nobody's been able to define if that's in fact the case, because I know a lot of insects do, but maybe this creature isn't that insect based. Now, the language hulkish conveys limited ideas, and it's easy to learn for an umber hulk. It's very difficult to actually replicate what an umber hulk does. So if you weren't an umber hulk, because you don't have their physiology, you really can't communicate the meaning properly. So if you're going to try to communicate with an umber hulk, you probably need to have the physiology of an umber hulk. So you need to transform into them first. If needed, some umber hulks can also speak Terran, and others might actually understand deep speech. And this is usually because they've had contact with other creatures that speak this language and have picked it up over time. So they can actually pick up other languages if they want to. There are rumours that umber hulks possess underground cities consisting of web-like tunnels. And apparently they steal precious metals, or are rumoured to have stolen precious metals to use as a currency in these cities. Although not all umber hulks actually value precious metals, but many do. If the umber hulk do have a society, this would kind of explain a lot, because umber hulks seem to disappear or spring up in regions at will, and always take great care in hiding their tunnels behind them, so they let the tunnels refill or collapse behind them as they go. Although the umber hulk are mostly solitary, some will in fact live in clusters or cloisters, groups of 2 to 4. Typically this will comprise the mother, the female, with their young, and that's really about it. In both behaviour and appearance, the umber hulk gender is virtually indistinguishable from to an outsider. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference. A male and a female kind of pretty much look the same. Male umber hulks live to about 50 years, and the female live approximately 75 years. Female umber hulks are rarer than the male, and male will defend them, possibly at the cost of their own lives. So yeah, that's why the female is constantly having litters, because there are so few, and to continue the species, it has to keep working quite hard. Is that any surprise? Okay. Umber hulk typically destroy items they can't use, such as clothes and weapons. But some curiosities that might catch the attention of an umber hulk will be hidden within their lairs, along with food, and possibly guarded by simple earth-related traps. So they do actually keep stuff occasionally if they find it interesting to them. And it's hard to know what an umber hulk will find interesting. But there is some evidence to suggest that they do like precious metals, and they like sparkly things like gems and stones and stuff like that. An umber hulk's lair is usually a large cavern with walls covered in claw marks, possibly due to the claws being sharpened on the walls, or because the umber hulk has actually made the cavern themselves and actually torn the stone away them by hand. Umber hulks don't have a working relationship with most races, and are typically enslaved by another race rather than working alongside for mutual benefit. Neogi capture Umber Hulk and enslave them, and the young Umber Hulk that are brought up or bred are usually used as the first servants to a Neogi hatchling. So they actually breed these creatures for their own uses, and this is the sort of thing that Neogi would do. I mean, there's no better labourer or muscle than an Umber Hulk, and since the Neogi can control their mind, it tends to happen. In addition, the Umber Hulk can often be found dominated by illithids or mind flayers to be used as dumb muscle, essentially. They enslave them for that very purpose. The other thing is they also use them as pack animals. You might also find that some human spellcasters or spellcasters have enslaved an Umber Hulk for their purposes as well. Now, there is an Umber Ravager, sometimes captured by Grimlocks and maybe cave-dwelling orcs. And they get used as hunting animals. It's kind of like, I have a hunting dog. No, I have a hunting Umber Hulk. Some Umber Hulks will willingly work alongside an evil race in any kind of position that doesn't put them above ground. They do not like to be above ground, the Umber Hulk, and doesn't put their lives at risk. So something as a labour force underground is something they would definitely consider. This seems strange, but apparently it does happen. Truly horrid Umber Hulks can be found even in the employment of dragons. So dragons will employ Umber Hulks, and the truly horrid Umber Hulk is a particular type of Umber Hulk, which I'll explain. These are Umber Hulk that live a long time, and they become a truly horrid Umber Hulk. They're usually about 16 feet monstrosities. They're 16 feet high, and they can weigh up to 8,000 pounds. They are terrifying. The horrid Umber Hulk is particularly destructive amongst the Hulks, but no less intelligent for their age, and they have probably more experience, and they can read the intentions of others even better. So they've definitely picked up and learned a lot of information, which kind of suggests that even though the lifespan of an Umber Hulk doesn't seem that exceptional, there are times when at the tail end of their life they become significantly more of a problem than they were before. The horrid Umber Hulk are often captured and used as guard beasts. As long as you give them an abundance of food while they're young, they generally do all right. If you don't feed them, there's going to be problems. The Umber Hulk are very likely to turn on their masters for any reason whatsoever. In fact, they don't even need to have a reason to turn on their master, which is concerning. But anyway, just make sure you don't have an Umber Hulk as a pet. Dead Umber Hulks are harvested by other races such as kobolds and goblins to make equipment such as shields and armor with their hides, and weapons are created from their mandibles. Spellcasters will collect the Umber Hulk's eyes to brew potions and make magic items of various types. Umber Hulks are despised by most underground races, not simply for their predatory nature and the fact that they hunt down a lot of stuff and kill it, but because they have indirectly been responsible for some of the worst conflicts in the Underdark. Because the Umber Hulk constructs so many tunnels underground and prefer to do so near ore veins, and often these ore veins are actually rare metals and stones. They have actually linked creatures that would have otherwise been isolated from each other, and inevitably results in some sort of warfare as they fight over the newly exposed material, whether that be silver, gold, platinum, or just diamonds. I mean, it could be anything. So they've actually created, not intentionally, well, we think it's not intentionally, they have created a lot of wars in the Underdark. The dwarven expression chase an Umber Hulk refers to the prospector's strategy of following an Umber Hulk's trail in the hopes of finding uncovered precious metals, because they do go so close to a vein or ore and expose things deliberately, it seems. Great for a dwarven miner, but it's also a dangerous plan and potentially can yield great rewards if you're lucky enough, and luck is definitely a big factor. Smaller Umber Hulks are known as the Umber Ravager. They occupy the upper layers of the earth and are the type more likely to be encountered by those who weren't actually in the Underdark, because the Underdark generally is a lot deeper. Okay, Revengers are the most likely Umber Hulk to be found working in groups too, as they are generally weaker in power, and also their dazing ability is not quite as strong, so they do need to actually work together for things to actually work to their advantage. In the Abyss, there exists an offshoot species of the Umber Hulk known as the Abyssal Hulk. And there isn't very much known about this because if you face one of these things, you probably will not live. The ecology of the Umber Hulk. Well, as it happens, the Umber Hulk will tend to feed on purple worms. A lot of people assume that it's only the young purple worm, but they will go after full grown as well. Ankegs and similar underground creatures. But they generally enjoy the taste of humanoids or human flesh. But humanoids are still very pleasant for them. The Underdark is a common environment to find the Umber Hulk because it is deep below the surface of the ground. Many deep caverns in the Underdark are actually linked together by Umber Hulk tunnels, not just purple worm tunnels. And they're actually, a lot of those caverns down there are actually probably created by the Umber Hulk, frankly. It was rumoured that the Umber Hulk digested precious metals for their dietary purposes or reasons, but this is kind of speculation. It's not completely obvious if their digestive tract is capable of breaking down metal. It certainly can break down a lot, but whether it's metal or not, it's hard to know. And there's nothing that confirms that they actually do seek out gold, silver, platinum, and other precious metals to actually use as a part of their diet. Umber Hulk teeth are not used for combat generally. Instead, they serve solely for chewing through the kill. Like, it's basically to chew up the flesh and then it goes down the gullet. Some Umber Hulk caves host a variety of fungi and lichen, although there's no evidence that the Umber Hulk actually eat this flora. Instead, this strange plant matter, this fungi and lichen, is probably eaten by larger insects the Umber Hulk allows inside their home, and in order to feast on the largest of these insects. So it's deliberately, they allow the environment to grow this underground flora, and then they feed on the animals that feed on it. Umber Hulks are commonly viewed by other races as unthinking brutes. This is a misconception. The Umber Hulk is perfectly happy in propagating. So there's definitely some deliberate machinations going on behind what the Umber Hulk does. Whilst not particularly intelligent, Umber Hulk are perfectly capable of rational thought and forward thinking. So they do show evidence of being relatively wise in how they operate. Umber Hulks normally have no need for complex plans or magic items or magic whatsoever or numbers or technology to accomplish their goals. And so they do not usually employ these things in their daily life, as far as we can tell. If a situation warranted more than sheer force from an Umber Hulk, it is intelligent or smart enough to use their earth-shaping abilities to outthink their enemy in some way. Umber Hulks are solitary, not due to their hatred of one another, but simply because working together has no perceivable benefit. As they could handle most threats individually, they don't really need somebody else to assist them. The Umber Hulk prefer to stay underground, as there is no use in going above ground, and also they dislike light. So if you were to shine a bright light into their eyes, they probably would not like that. The history of the Umber Hulk. The Umber Hulk were once reported to be magically created mutants, whose creator had long since been lost to history. So nobody really knows how they were created, apparently. However, according to early writings, Umber Hulks were among the oldest creatures in the cosmos, having been around since the Dawn War. The Umber Hulk are believed by sages to have emerged from the raw material of the universe before the primordials had actually finished crafting everything and creating the worlds as they are. Umber Hulks are trainable creatures, as proven by their use in the Blade Kingdoms and in the city of Sombra. In 1217 DR, the Umberhawks were stationed underneath the Palace of Manicus as one of the many anti-theft precautions. They made really good guards. In the late 14th century DR, a yellow Carpace Umberhawk was actually used as a bouncer in a shady underground tavern of Talador. Is it Taladance? I think it's Taladance in the city of Oberley. Now, how do they pull this off? Kind of suspect that the Umberhawk was probably magically dominated in some way by the tavern's wizard proprietor. I think that's probably the only way that was pulled off. How do we incorporate the Umberhawk into our adventure? I've got some ideas. You're not going to like all these ideas. Only take the ones that you like the idea of. Leave the ones you don't, okay? An old man Umberhawk lives on the outskirts of a mining community and rescues the trapped dwarven or miners from the collapsing mines whenever required. It's like mining rescue. Call the old Umberhawk. You can also have an Umberhawk who acts as a miner and digs up rare gems and precious metals like gold, silver, platinum, rubies, emeralds, diamonds, stuff like that. You might even want to have a thieves guild or a famous bank robber or bank robbers have an Umberhawk member that helps them actually dig into the bank vaults and steal treasures. You could have a nightclub that has hired an Umberhawk and has used some sort of magic on them to act as a bouncer or a security guard if you wanted to. The head of the Umberhawk could be removed and turned into a wool trophy that causes creatures that see the eyes, because the eyes might still be working, to actually forget and confuse anybody who moves into this area. So if you're worried about somebody breaking into your manor or your castle, put up some Umberhawk trophies on the wall, and that will make it much harder for them to realize, what am I supposed to be doing here? Gives you more time to capture them and then put them in your dungeon. What about an Umberhawk underground civil engineer who does tunnels, digs tunnels for various creatures and humanoids within your world? An Umberhawk could be part of a puzzle to escape a labyrinth, say a stone labyrinth, and what you need to do is release the Umberhawk from whatever its iron cage so it can dig a hole through the stone underground maze and allow you to escape this very, very difficult labyrinth that you've encountered. The Umberhawk could be a shock trooper too, because it really does look like a shock trooper for an alien insectoid invasion. So if you have insects invading your world, then the shock troopers may in fact be the Umberhawk. You could have a Nyogi spider-like astral traveller enslaving the minds of Umberhawks as servants. It's in the book already for the monster manual, it's pretty obvious. And then mind flayer colonies in the Underdark would capture and enslave Umberhawks as pack animals. I don't really particularly like this application because I just feel like it kind of poo-poos all over the Umberhawk, but you could do it. Alright, how do we defeat the Umberhawk? Well, it's got eyes, it's got two sets of eyes, that's 4 eyes. In fact, its compound eyes are actually made up of many lenses. Light is a big factor. Shining a light into the eyes of an Umberhawk will certainly cause them a lot of trouble. They don't like light. So you might in fact be able to blind it with enough light if you can find some way of getting it underground, because they'll be underground. Avoid looking into the eyes of the Umberhawk, and this, if by doing so and averting your gaze, your mind will not be scrambled. But if you do look into the eyes of the Umberhawk, of course, there's a good chance you might lose control and wind up becoming confused. Stay out of the reach of the Umberhawk's powerful mandibles, but particularly their claws. And how would you do this? You want to use ranged attacks. Whether that's a ranged attack with a long bow, short bow, a crossbow, or spells, it doesn't matter. Probably at range is the best. The Umberhawk is simply too powerful physically in many respects, but its mind is relatively average in complexity. So this is its only weakness. If you had to look at trying to deal with its physical nature or its mental nature, go after the mind. Okay, so targeting the Umberhawk with mind affecting spells has probably got the greatest chance of success when you're trying to fight this thing. So this thing has been around a long time. Where did the Umber Hulk come from? Well, like many of the monsters from Dungeons and Dragons, they actually come from a toy, a Chinese toy and a bag of toys that Gary Gygax winds up picking up. Like many of the things that have been created for Dungeons and Dragons, this was one of them. It was first published in the Monster Manual for First Ed Edition in 1997. I believe it's 1997. I think it's 19. Is it? Well, no. Is it 1997? It might be 1977 actually. Now that I think about it, yeah, it's 1977. I made a mistake there. Should have known that one. Okay, it's also in the Monstrous Manual for Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 2nd Ed Edition in 1993. It shows up again in the Monster Manual for 3.5 in 2003, and then followed up another Monster Manual for 4E in 2008, and then lastly we get it printed in the Monster Manual for 5E in 2014. So this thing has been around most of the time. It's a very popular monster. It's clearly one that is stuck and people tend to remember it. And I have to say, I am so pleased that the Umber Hulk exists in our world, because there isn't a monster more strange and bizarre than the Umber Hulk. And it is indicative of the sort of impact that the natural world and little toys can have on the game. Would you believe it? In any case, if you found this useful, great. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or feedback. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s. I did warn you. I told you it was going to be a long one. There was a lot of material. Okay? When I went through and did the research on this, I was amazed at how much information was on the Umber Hulk. But I also had to create a lot of stuff myself. So let's go through the chat and just say hi to everybody. And then we'll get on with the task for today. Now, let me have a look at this poll. I'm going to... I'll leave that there for now. Or get rid of it in a second. Let's have a look at the poll first. What experience do you have? Oh, can I see clearly? These lights are probably going to hurt me. What experience do you have with the Umber Hulk from Dungeons and Dragons? You encountered the monster? 40%. Run the monster? 20%. So not that many people have run it, but they have encountered it. Either fought it or run away, I guess. You've heard about it? 30%. Nothing? 10%. Okay. Good to know. Out of 10 votes. Hello, Jasper. How are you? How are you doing? It's nice to see you. It's been a little while. I'm sure you've been busy. It's good to have you back. Now, for those of you who are unsure what the deal is with this, the best way to support me continuing to make this type of content is through Patreon, okay? Patreon, you'll find all of my notes for this will go up onto Patreon. You can download them. You can pay as little as $1 a month and you get everything, not just this, but everything else that I create as well. So I recommend doing that if you want to support the channel. Otherwise, super chats and super stickers are always welcome as well. And yeah. So Scott, what have we got here? How are you, Scott? The gaze attack, I kind of wonder about the gaze attack sometimes. It was actually interesting when I was doing the research for this. I was like, what's the deal with the eyes of an insect? And there was a lot being thrown around about reflection and how the eyes of an insect can hypnotize you. But there wasn't a lot of like concrete information. And in the end, I decided to use the concept of light emission and causing epilepsy and mind control by using high frequency light, which is apparently what some governments do to affect people when they're interrogating them. So I had to pull from some insect world, the intelligence world, and a lot of urban mythology, if you know what I mean. Hello, Noroak. Noroak is a patron, supports me on Patreon, and I do thank you for doing so. Make sure that this is possible to do each week. Now, yeah, the pit trap filled with water. Yeah, an umber hulk. Yeah, an umber hulk can breathe underwater. So as a result of that, they wouldn't be afraid of causing a flood. That's the biggest problem, or leading you into a location that is full of water. So Scott, yeah, no, I was surprised by that too. And when we say talk, and I describe the information on it is the type of way, the manner in which that it speaks is not the way that you would sort of understand speech to be. My understanding is there is a lot of body language going on. There's a lot going on with their eyes, their mandibles, their teeth, and that's sort of a big factor. And I'm kind of wondering too if maybe there's some sort of scent being used as well, but there's no evidence as far as I can tell. And I decided not to tie that in. So for those of you who are wondering about the biology of this creature, there is not actually that much information on the biology of the creature. A lot of the biology has actually been created by me, based on real world monsters, real world creatures, insects. I used the various bugs, insect eyes, and the gorilla, a lot of the gorilla, cockroach. I looked at all sorts of different things and pulled from there to sort of fill it out to give you something, so kind of you've got a better idea of how it works. And there's a special uh, beetle that is incredibly difficult to destroy, and so I've used their armor, the information on that. It's relatively new too, the information they collected on that. So umber hulks eat ore, and Sauron eat the gems. Well, they may. I mean, it's more speculation. Nobody's absolutely sure if they eat precious metals. They may though. There seems to be some reason why they need them. You're welcome. You're welcome, Scott. Okay, all right. Let me just say it is time to actually do some work. So I've done an awful lot of talking. So I'm going to be getting you guys to give me a hand. So we're going to check, as I have done in the past. We're going to have a look and see if the Umber Hulk needs remastering. Is it in fact doing what it needs to do? This is probably one of my most fun aspects of doing this. I love doing the research. Oh, for those of you who don't know, um, I'm still I'm not completely sure what monster I will cover next week at the same time and same day. I'm thinking the Yeti, because there isn't very much on the Yeti, and when there's big huge holes, I feel like that's an opportunity. Rather, and I like the Yeti, so I'm thinking of doing the Yeti. But yeah, we'll see how we go. Let's have a look at our homework here. First off, I need to turn you off, and we need to go down to window capture, and I need to find the thing that I required. It is this D&D Beyond thing. I believe it is this D&D Beyond thing. I hope it's this D&D Beyond thing. Apparently there's something going on. Okay. So I would suggest right now is type into the chat if there are particular monsters that you would like me to chat about. I'm kind of open to doing that. Let's do this. Yeah. I'm kind of open to doing that. You just need to let me know in the chat. Otherwise, hey, I will cover whatever I feel like covering. I feel like there's lots and lots of potential for something like the Yeti. It just seems like a super fun monster to chat about, as far as I can see. Bum 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 bum. I think somebody also mentioned something about, was it the giant centipede, and wanting me to do something with the giant centipede? And wasn't there somebody who also talked about, was it a giant squid? I think they wanted me to do something with the giant squid. I don't honestly know what to do with those creatures, frankly. Hence why I'm not really putting it on the planner for today. But if somebody's got something in mind, then you'll let me know and we'll go there. Okay. Otherwise, I think I've got my screen ready to go. Oh, still not ready. Okay, fine. Let's try that again. Okay, that looks like it's better. That's going to work. There it is. There it is. We got it. Whew. Man, I was getting worried there. Okay, let's go back to here. Now, if you're unaware how I do this, normally I use the Dungeon Master Guide. So my suggestion to you is grab the Dungeon Master Guide and turn to page 274. And that's the page where you're going to find that table, that quick monster stat block builder. That's what we need. The Wendigo. Thanks for clearing it up. Noroak, has there ever been a Wendigo in D&D? Yeah, there has actually. And what's that? The Paramim? I don't know much about that creature. I'll have to come back to that to be able to figure out what's going on with that one. Okay, let's deal with the Umber Hulk and just see if we need to make any adjustments. So monsters. Probably let's just go straight to create a monster. And if we don't need to do it, then we don't need to do it. That's fine. Alright, so let's go Umber Hulk. And Umber Hulk, which starts with you. I'm a bit gassy today, people. So if you see me when I'm doing these live streams and I look like I'm sort of stopping and I'm about to burp, it is because I have some really significant gas problems. Okay, so the Umber Hulk. I think that's the one we'll start with this. And then we'll go through and have a look. So a copy of that. Our first copy. I'm not going to put Umber Hulk Remastered unless it actually needs to be, because it may not need any kind of assistance whatsoever. But I would like to give it a go. Okay, so we're saved. Right, so the easiest way for me to access this and just look at it is probably to go straight into my collections. Copy of Umber Hulk, there it is. Right, so first problem. Let's have a look at what we've got here. Looking at our table, I'm not worried about the alignment. I frankly couldn't care. Large monstrosity, yep, that's all good. It is a challenge rating 5. So if we look at the column for challenge rating 5, we should have a proficiency bonus of 3, which we do, which is good. It says the armor class should be about 15, and it's an 18, and it's because the Umber Hulk has such high armor. So to go from a challenge rating 15 to an 18, that's 3 points up. So the challenge rating must have been adjusted at some point in terms of defense, I would imagine. Probably by about 1.5 CR. We're not going to change the armor class. So if you thought that I'm looking through here, I'm going to change the armor class, no. No, maybe the challenge rating needs to be changed based off the creature. Yeah. Okay, so if we say that it's supposed to be challenge rating 5, how many hit points does this thing have? 93. And what we should be getting is about 131 to 145. Is it sitting within that parameter? So if we have 11 hit dice in the D10s, that's 11 times 10 is 110, and then add 33 is 143. 143 sits within. So, I mean, if it's at its maximum hit points, it's actually sitting within that range. Now, you're probably wondering, why, Fred, why are you not adjusting the average? Because that's not necessary. There is a reason the average exists there only as a suggestion to Dungeon Masters. The average is for the beginners, okay? When you're dealing with experienced players, you pump it right up to full max hit points, okay? Because they can deal with it, and it still sits within the criteria. Okay, so the hit points are actually fine. What about its attack? It's got a plus. It should have a +6. So what sort of attack bonus does it have? It actually has a bonus to attack, which is a +8. That's 2 points higher. So it actually pushes it higher than... Well, interesting. That's really, really interesting. That means that defensively, it's about 1.5 CR higher than challenge rating 5. And attack-wise, it's probably another CR rating higher than that. So maybe the CR rating for this thing should be 5, 6, 7, 7.5, or about 7. It's probably listed as too low based off its abilities and what it's doing. Uh, what's that? We roll dice. Sweet. Caught the stream. Hello. How are you? You're in Canada. The Umber Hulk. Well, I'm glad it's one of your favourites. I'm glad it's one of your favourites. Frankly, for me, it's also a favourite. So I think there's a lot going on there that may need to be adjusted. I don't want to change the attack so much as long as it makes sense. It's supposed to be doing 33 to 38 points of damage at challenge rating 5. So is it doing that though? So that's 33 to 38. So if we got multi-attack and we get 3 attacks, 2 with the claws and 1 with the bite or mandibles. So on average, let's look at average damage. So 2... So we've got claws and we've got mandibles. Why do the mandibles do more damage than the claws? I'm not sure why they've decided to do it that way, but they've decided the mandibles are more dangerous than the claws? Really? Do we need to change it though? Do we just leave it alone? Okay, so if the mandible attack is 14 on average, we get 1 of those. And then we get 2 of the claws. The claws are doing 9 points of damage. I think this is to ensure that people want to use the mandibles. Maybe that's slashing. So both are slashing, that's fine. So 9 times 2 is 18. 18 plus 14 is, maths is hard now. 18, 20, 22, 32. 32. It's only 1 point lower than it probably should be for that rating. That's not bad. I mean, I think that's. I mean, I've seen worse, and it's also got the confusing gaze ability, which is kind of a big deal too. Hello, Dinomancer. How are you? Dinomancer is a patron, supports me on Patreon, and welcome back, buddy. We roll dice. Maybe like an ant, powerful bite. Yeah, I think maybe that's what they're going for. So let's not mess around with its attacks. I feel like 2 claws and a mandible attack for multi-attack is perfectly fine. Its reach is fine. I don't actually think we need to do anything with the attacks whatsoever. Tunneling. The Umber Hulk can burrow through solid rock at half its burrowing speed and leaves a 5 foot wide, 8 foot high tunnel in its wake. Tunneler. Okay, so it's got a burrowing speed of 20 feet in soft earth. That's what that's all about, right? But if it wants to go through solid stone or rock, then it's going to be 10 feet. Okay, that's a smart idea. That's fine. I have no issues with that. It's got dark vision. It's got tremor sense. Dark vision to 120 feet. Tremor sense to 60 feet. Yeah, it's fine. A passive perception of 10. Yeah, okay, that kind of fits. I don't think it's stats. Strength, dexterity, con, intelligence, wisdom, charisma. I don't think any of them actually need to be changed at all, if you ask me. Scissors, yeah, I suppose that's what's the idea is behind that Dinomancer is because it's acting like a scissor. So you're getting 2d6. So you've got two very sharp attacks coming in from either sides for chopping off heads. So far, does anybody see anything that's outstanding that seems to be a problem? Let's have a look. The confusing gaze. The confusing gaze. Let me just get my glasses on. My eyes are really bad right now. I kind of feel like maybe this creature is actually not up for any kind of adjustment whatsoever. Maybe that's just that's a good sign. Maybe the challenge rating is just too low. Confusing gaze. When a creature starts its turn within 30 feet of an Umber Hulk and is able to see the Umber Hulk's eyes, the Umber Hulk can magically force it to make a DC 15 charisma saving throw unless the Umber Hulk is incapacitated. Interesting. Is its saving throw adequate for a challenge rating 5? I didn't check that, did I? It is. It's right on the dot. It should be a 15 and it is a 15. Oh, so its charisma saving throws is good. Unless the Umber Hulk is incapacitated. On a failed save, the creature can't take reactions until start of its next turn and rolls a d8, and then you get this confusing thing. I kind of like this. Unless surprised, a creature can avert its eyes to avoid the saving throw at the start of its turn. If the creature does so, it can't see the Umber Hulk until the start of its turn. Avert its eyes again. Look. Let's check its challenge rating. Let's pump it into the calculator, and because I don't think the Umber Hulk actually needs anything much done to it. The only thing that may be a problem is the fact that its challenge rating seems like it might be 2 points lower than it should be, which might confuse a few people when they throw it up against their party and suddenly challenge rating 5s feels more like it's challenge rating a bit higher. So 5e tools, let me just type in here. Sorry people, I've got to take it off while I'm doing this. 5e tools, CR calculator, some of you have seen that I've used this tool before. We're going to use it again today. Okay, so I'm going to be jumping back and forth a little bit on this one. This is good sign. This means we get to make a monster, people. So seriously, be ready. We will be probably making a monster. Level of barbarian in the Vorpal property. We're not going to do that. It's a tough monster already. So let's just have a look at what we need to do. The expected challenge rating for this thing. Expected is supposed to be 5. 5. How many hit points does it have? It has, do I remember? 93 hit points. Can I just delete that and put 93? Hopefully, yeah. Armor class is 18, correct? It's got an armor class of 18. Yes, it does, the natural armor. We've got that correct. It is large size, I know that. It's hit dice. It's a D10, but it has 11 hit dice if I remember right. It doesn't have that many. It has 11 hit dice. Ooh, interesting. There's something weird going on here. What's its constitution modifier? Constitution modifier says it's a 16, so it's a 3. Constitution is a 16. And then damage per round, it's doing slightly under what it should be doing. So at level 5, it's actually doing 32. Not 33, but that's alright, that's only one off. It's got an attack and a saving throw. Uses saves. It does use saves. It's actually a 15, the saving throw. Yeah, no, I've got, it is adjusting it. I see it's gone back to 93 now. So there's something, it's because of the constitution modifier, it's taken that into consideration. Vulnerabilities, is it? I don't think it's actually vulnerable to anything. And I don't think from the lore that it was supposed to be vulnerable to anything. It doesn't have any resistances or immunities. It doesn't have any of those, so we leave that alone. Does it fly or deal damage at range? Does it deal damage at range? I don't think it does. The confusing thing is not damage. It's an effect. So it doesn't fulfill any of that. So if you leave that alone. Save proficiencies. Does it have a saving throw of any kind? I don't think it has any saving throws of any kind. So that's just, we'll leave that alone as well. I don't think that we can go any lower than that 0 to 2. Okay, so we'll leave that alone. It doesn't deal as much damage on average, but the chances are it will be attacking with advantage plus. Yes, that's true. It's also the gaze, because the confusing gaze, if it does come off, means you suddenly have just eliminated somebody from the fight, more than likely. Do you know what I mean? They're probably going to be doing nothing. Instead, they're food. It doesn't have ambusher. What it does have, it has confusing gaze and tunneler. So let's have a look and see what we need to tick. No avoidance, no constrict, damage, transfer, enlarge, frightening presence, horrified, Apparently the confusing gaze is not listed as something we need to concern ourselves with. I would like your ad to bugger off. Can I close that little thing? Yeah, cool. Right. So apparently we don't need to do anything with that. What has happened to our challenge rating if we pumped that all in? It's actually listed as a challenge rating 4. Who would have guessed? Have I done something wrong? On average, 30, yeah, that's that. That's very, very unusual. Oh, it's proficiency bonus. Did I put the proficiency bonus in? I dropped it down because it is classified it as a challenge rating 4. Who would have guessed? Hello, Jeeves. How are you? Welcome back. That is not that I did not expect that. Have I done something wrong with the data that I've put in? I think possibly the problem is that the confusing gaze has not been taken into consideration. I mean, that confusing gaze can be used on every single creature. It's not just one. You use it on every single creature. And of course, if you avert your gaze, you can't actually see the creature. If you can't see the creature, you can't target the creature. That means you're fighting blind, which seriously, if you've ever had to fight blind. So I did martial arts for many years. I wound up being 3rd Dan black belt, and part of our training, because we used to have to do everything. So that was throwing, locks, holds, fighting with weapons, without weapons, fighting against weapons, without weapons, punching, kicking, the whole lot, everything. But one of our training requirements was we had to go into a completely dark room, and there were often pieces of furniture there, and we would always say, look, you need to be careful about the high blows, whether it was a kick or a punch or any kind of strike, because you could potentially wind up smacking somebody quite hard in the head. So we had to be very careful. But I tell you, it is harder than you think to fight in the dark when you're blind. When you're blind, I used to fight with a blindfold as well. That's really difficult. To try and use your human ears and train yourself to figure out where everybody was, man, it's not nearly as easy as you would think. It's really, really hard. So I think that may be what's going on here, Dinomancer. I think that's potentially. I am of the opinion that, frankly, this is actually probably one of the most best, well-designed monsters that they've put out. It does everything that it's supposed to. I don't think, if I look at the old book, that it has anything in here that was removed. I have the original book. So not the original book, but I have the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Second Edition Monstrous Manual, and let's just see if there's anything in here that we should have added in, because I'm kind of interested now. I think this is the first time I've come across a monster that didn't need adjustment. I'm quite amazed, frankly. Umber Hulk, here we go. Combat. So it's got all that. Intelligence is average. It's It's supposed to have 3 attacks, and the stat block for 5e has got 3 attacks. It lists the damage output. It gives all of that. Mandibles capable. Okay. That's good. It's good. How's that, people? We've got a monster. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to delete this. There is no need to do anything with the Umber Hulk. Your Umber Hulk is actually perfectly fine, really. If anything, a challenge rating 5 should probably be a challenge rating 4, but I think it's just because they haven't taken into consideration the fact that you can affect every single party member, essentially, with the confusing gaze. And the DC on it is decent. DC 15 is good, and it can do a lot. So we're going to delete that one. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to flick myself back to my camera because it's on the hour. It doesn't mean we're finished, because we always have to do some work, and I haven't done that much work. All we've done is just establish that the Umber Hulk is actually a really decent monster, much to my surprise. So let me just put into the chat here, hashtag, do we need a new poll? Do I put up a poll? Because some people don't like typing into the chat, and some people do. So I'm going to close and end this poll that we currently have. I'm going to start a new poll. New poll. What monster? Now, rather than fixing a monster, let's not fix a monster. Let's just make a monster. We've got just under an hour probably. What monster should we make? Question mark. And I'm going to put down make for Dungeons and Dragons 5e. So we can do a stat block in that time. If you guys want to do something else, you'll let me know. Let's go with giant squid. Somebody mentioned something about a giant squid the other day. Giant squid. Was it giant centipede? Somebody said a giant. It won't be the actual giant centipede as such. Okay. I'm not fixing the Grick Nacho Man today, because the Grick will come. I know you want me to fix the Grick, but I'm going to talk about the Grick in the future, but I'm not going to fix it today. The Grick is a piece of shit. I agree. So centipede. I think that's right. Did I get it wrong? Oh, you, Fred, you can't spell. Centipede. No, apparently I can't spell at all. I need to. Why can't I? It's because it's so hot in here. My brain is overheating, and therefore I just can't think clearly. Giant centipede. Giant. Oh, there we go. Centipede. You silly bugger, you. All right. Let's go back. Centipede. Okay. No, that button. So giant centipede. What else did people? Yeah, Jeeves. I'm going to talk about the ankheg. So we're not going to fix the ankheg today. So let's try to. So when I say giant squid, giant centipede, I don't mean we're going to make a giant squid or a giant centipede. I'm going to make a monster kind of like that, using that as a background. What else would be kind of fun? An insect monster, or something else. Okay, I'm going to put in this poll. You guys can use the chat to tell me in what direction we want to go. I'm going to put this down now. Poll is up. I'll let you vote. Hashtag, what monster do we make? No, that's not what I want. How did we get this thing? Oh, you are so annoying. What monster do we make? Okay. A kraken light. Squid was mine. A light kraken, like a juvenile kraken. Okay, so I'll let you guys vote. I'm going to take a quick break. Where's Arnold? Arnold, I need your assistance, please. I can't find you, Arnold. There you are. Okay, all right. I'm going to take a quick break, toilet break. You all do some voting, leave some comments, put us in the right direction, and then we'll go for it. 5 or less. I'll be back. Okay, I'm heading back into my space. I'm going to need to drink. Oh, so warm. Okay, get comfortable. And yeah, let's have a look here. Let's have a look. Zipping on back. I have returned. Let's have a look at what we're dealing with. My eyes are terrible right now. Looks to me like some sort of giant squid creature is going to be the one for today. An insect monster. Oh, an insect monster or a giant squid? Somebody's going to have to break that. Something else, 14%. Somebody has to vote to break that that tie. I'm set for possibly snow tonight. You got snow coming? Oh, okay. So Jeeves, you're running a lost underground library, and some sort of cool bookworm type insect would cool actually. I'd even add a couple of Umber hulks. Bookworm like a Greek mate. Oh, yes. Stop it. Cut it out. I know what you're trying to do there. Yeah, that's the thing, is the Umber hulk really. So Nacho Man is also a patron. Hello, Nacho Man. Gave it acid blood. Giant squid was me. Yes. So it looks to me, Anki is always something flawed. Yeah, we're going to come back to that. And the Grick, they will get covered. They are. I mean, the Grick is definitely something that's on my radar. I think that this is going to be. Will this require me to make a decision? Well, this looks like it's going to require me to make a decision. The Grickosaurus. Dear. Patron and troublemaker. Well, no. One of the benefits of being a patron. Actually, that's a good question. Someone's going. We've got a tie between patron request giant squid creature and insect monster, which I'm not sure if that's who was actually in the chat saying they want the insect monster. Jeeves. I can't remember, Jeeves, if you're a patron or not, mate. I can't remember. There's a few of them now, and it's very hard for me to keep up with them all. So I'm looking. If you remember what your name is, and you are a patron, you let me know, because that'll be my deciding. That's how I'm going to go. It's like the patrons get their shit because they are here. Do you know what I mean? And that seems like a reasonable thing to do. Let me just have a look. Dinomancer, me for the insect. I'm not sorry. An insect squid. One day maybe. That's all right. It's all good. Well, I think we're going squid-like creature. Looks to me. So we'll go squid-like creature. That's fine. I don't have an issue too much with making a squid-like creature. Let's see what we can do. It does, Nacho, since you have started us down this path, you need to actually help us a little bit. Okay, you will actually have to help a little bit along the way, because I hate to say it, but I need a bit of information. Do you know what I mean? Like, there are some things that we need to know, such as, is this going to be a solo monster? Is this monster going to have a particular challenge rating? What level are your characters? Like those sorts of bits of information are kind of be pretty helpful in making this easier to sort out. And it looks like we're coming back to insects some of the day anyway. So squiddy creature it is, but first off, we need to decide on what you want to use, dude, as your template. If we type in squid, hang on, let me just change to a different screen. If we type in squid, there'll be a whole bunch of different squid-like creatures with different challenge ratings that we can use. What I require is some guidance around that. Um, squid can have tentacles. Yeah, tentacles are fine. Like a guard dog. So what level are your players? What level type of creature are we dealing with here? Squid. So he have an island lair. Yeah, so squid, gnome squid. Is that all we get if I type in squid? Sheesh, really? Kraken. If I type in kraken, there should be more one kraken, right? So we've got a few different krakens. That's kind of like a squid. So what level, dude? Well, that's fine. We can that's easy thing, but I need to know roughly what sort of level that we're dealing with here, and whether it's going to have to fight on its own. Does it have minions? Not have minions? That's kind of important to know. Acting like a guard dog. So that's the question I need. Like, what level are your characters? What level are your characters? CR8. Well, I mean, since we could make any monster under the sun, it doesn't. If Nacho's doing this, they will be level 1 to 3 when they first encounter it, but I don't want them to fight it. So what level do you want them to be when they fight it? Like Nacho, that's the thing, is like we've got lots of different creatures I could pull from and utilize in this situation, but I need to have an idea. I want them to fear it to take out the ship. Well, I mean, if we could just put a full-blown kraken in there, that's a squid basically. I mean, that'll do it, but that's level 23. So you still haven't answered the question, dude. What level does the monster need to be? Obviously, it needs to be something. Okay, level 5. Okay, there we go. Kraken priest. Well, we don't want a priest that's a kraken. What's this thing? That's level 5. Level 5. Kraken priest. Kraken priest. Kraken priest. Kraken something. Okay, let's. I'm gonna crack. No, that's not what we want. That's a priest. Forget about that. Young kraken, probably too high level. Juvenile, still a 14. Clockwork, not going to be doing that. Young kraken, we will power that down maybe. A juvenile, we can power down as well. Ghost of Salt Marsh. Okay, we'll just take this one. Young kraken. It's got a lot going on, but we can do that. We can power it down a bit. Okay, so let's go back. Young kraken's the one we'll aim for. It does sound like a plot monster rather than a fight monster, which kind of begs the question, why even bother creating a stat block for the thing, frankly. But let's see how we go here. Create a monster. I want a young kraken. Y. Can I find it? Oh, man. Young. Young, white, Ramirez. Okay, so maybe it's not under young. Maybe it's under the word name Kraken. Maybe that's why I can't find it there. Okay, so let's go to K. K. Kraken priest, Kraken. Okay. All right, so we're going to have to pull up 2 different windows to make this work. We'll start with this thing. Okay. All right, I think I'm on the right track now. 1. We'll do that. We will save it. We have very limited time. Yeah, you got to be really specific when you make a request. Otherwise, it's really difficult. Really, really difficult. So we're going to go here, and we'll go young Kraken. Kraken. We're going to power it down. Okay, so let's go to our workshop here. Right, this is where we start. Do you have a name for this thing, Nacho? If you don't have a name, let us know. Otherwise, somebody else can name it for you, okay? Hashtag name the monster. The squid monster. Monster. Okay, while you guys are figuring that out, I'm going to look at challenge rating 5. That's what we're aiming for. We're going to go delete that bit. Kraken question mark. We're not calling it Tim. Dude, you're like my brother, dude. He wants to call everything Tim. It's not a Titan. How large do you want this thing? Do you want it to be gargantuan? Do you want it smaller? Like here. Does anybody get the joke, Tim? I know what he's going on about, but cool, blimey, seriously. Okay, so 5. We're changing the challenge rating. We'll do that. We'll deal with siege monster. It's not a siege monster unless it's supposed to be a really big size. No, it's not. Gygaxio. Oh my gosh, we've ventured in. I've lost you already, people. You've already ventured into silliness. Which is fine. I'm glad you're having a good time, but we're not going to get very much done. Okay, so proficiency bonus should be a 3. Its armor class should be about 15. So we'll just make it a 15 for now. Or drop that down. Large enough to take out a ship. Large enough to take out a ship. Oh, right. Okay. So it's actually going to be quite big. Ship size. It could be huge. Ship is probably bigger than that. Yeah, so gargantuan. It has to be gargantuan then. So it will be creature type Titan. It's just a lower level little sucker. That's fine. Good. If you're driving, okay, all right. Geronimo. Oh, good Lord. Geronimo. Geronimo. Question mark. I am not convinced. On the heat, mate, the heat has been bad. Has it not been bad? I feel like I'm actually breathing water. Like, that's how horrible it is. Okay, so we need to deal with the hit points. The hit points need to be about 131 to 145, and right now we're way too high. So how do we fix this? Too many hit dice is probably part of the problem. We've got a con modifier. I mean, it's horrifically strong. Do we want to change some of the stats on this thing? It's still got to be able to tear a ship apart, doesn't it? It's still got to be able to tear a ship apart. It's 20. I'm going to put it as 20. 20 is still pretty strong. Dex, leave the dex alone. Con doesn't need to be that high. Make it 19. 18 maybe. 18 con. Intelligence, do you want a smart squid or a dumb squid? Good question. Like, you'll have to let me know. Bow breaker. Yeah, that's where we're going. So I'm going to put it down as a 10 for now. Wisdom, give it a 12. How's that sound? Charisma, it's not that charismatic unless you want it to speak. Is this where we're going? Is we're having a squid that they talk to? I'm kind of interested to know. Those squiddos, we'll make it an 8 until you tell me there are some stats that need to be adjusted. So, condition immunities, paralyzed and frightened. We'll leave that alone. Immunity, non-magical. I don't think it should have any kind of magical stuff going on here. Lightning immunity. Why would it have lightning immunity? Because it's got a lightning ability. Okay, so we'll leave that alone, but we'll get rid of that. That doesn't need to be there. Okay, so our hit points are still way too high, so I need to adjust them down, and that's going to have to be done by trimming this and see what we get. Let's go 20. 20d10. So that's... Oh, what happened? Tell me I didn't lose everything. Has it adjusted everything? No, it hasn't. Okay. Oh, that was close. That was close. Talking would be great. You want it to talk. All right. If it's going to talk, it's got languages apparently already. Celestial, infernal, telepathy, abyssal, primordial. Telepathy. Do we need all the other ones? How about an aura of ink? Let's just deal with powering it down first, people. We're dealing with a kraken that needs to be powered down. So let's think. How do we power down the creature? Because even the young kraken is significantly more powerful than what you're dealing with here right now. Because that's probably already got something like that. Do you know what I mean? An ink ability is definitely an option, but yeah, we need to power it down. Power down. Senses, skills. Well, it's a good question. It's got a swim speed and a walk speed. Swim speed, we'll leave the swim speed. The walk speed, we'll leave the walk speed. Dinomancer, Bone Breaker, Bone Breaker. That's more like it. Now we're talking. I'll take that name. Bone Breaker. Bone Breaker. Like Bow Breaker? Bow Breaker. Bone. I said Bone Breaker. I don't know why I got Bow Breaker. It's a Bone Breaker. Long-term plan for the campaign is it works for a beholder. The island is the beholder's lair. A beholder. Still not quite sure what that means, but yeah. So we're going to power this down, and so what are we dealing with here? Average hit points, hit point modifier. Too many hit points here. Let's go with, what about if we go 5? So 5 and 20s comes to what? I'm pretty sure it's going to be something like, and of course our constitution modifier is an 18. So level 5, so 4 times 5 is 20. 20, that should be that. Can it talk by painting in the water with its ink? Calligraphy. Oh dear. Funny. Nice one. Okay, so we've got their modifier figured out. It's only level 5, so that's all it's going to get. We're using a D20, which probably won't be enough, because half of that, we still only get about 50, and we need to be a bit higher than that. So that means we might have to go down up to 10. 10, that gets us to 100, doesn't it? Taken half, 100, and it needs to have 131 to 145. And right now we've got 120, so we need to be able to push it up another, at least 2 points, I would say. So we go 12. So 12 20s is what? That's 120 plus the 20 on that, so it should come out as an average of 140, which is our average. Okay, so we've got it. So it's essentially the beholder's guard dog to prevent people coming and going to the island. Okay, all right. Okay, so what I've done is I've depowered it down a little bit, If you think any of the stats on the monster should be higher, you'll let me know. Okay? I'm going to save this in a second as our next version. And then we're going to have to look at some of the other aspects of this thing. So I've got just under half an hour to get it done. Okay, so do we need all the languages? As I said, that's a question I've asked you is like, do we need all the languages? True sight, do you want it to have true sight? We can leave true sight in there. Krakens have true sight. Squid can have true sight. But you need to let me know, do you want all these languages or do you just want it to have telepathy? Because this is obviously a creature that's not as powerful as your full-blown young Kraken or even a full-blown Kraken, right? If anybody has any ideas to help with all of this, you let me know. Okay, all right, so Titan Gargantuan, we've got that there. Amphibious, the bone breaker, breathe air and water. Okay, and freedom of movement, the ignores difficult terrain and magical effects, can't reduce its speed or cause it to be condition restrained. It can spend 5 feet of movement to escape from non-magical restraints of being. We can leave that feature. We just need to change out the name. Freedom of movement, we don't have to include that. Just telepathy. Good to know. Thank you very much. Bone breaker. So we'll leave that. Siege monster. Do you want it to be able to be a siege monster? So that's my next question. Should it be a siege monster in this case? For those of you who have made your own monsters before, by all means, feel free to pipe up if you have any suggestions. Alright, so we're going to do the language. We're going to get rid of this one, Celestial. It just has the telepathy. And I'm going to delete Infernal. And we'll go in here and grab another one, and Abyssal, delete. So obviously this monster, when it's done, will be up on Patreon near the end of the week, along with everything else. Pain, but I need to drive back to work. Not a problem. Okay, so Nacho, you basically said that you won't be able to give us some advice as to what you want out of this. So I need other people to give me some advice and how we actually go about making this work for Nacho. Okay. So if you have any suggestions, throw it in there. Things that we need to consider adjusting or making changes to. Yep, chat, fire away. The squid is probably very abused and tormented, might have a low hit point and several tentacles missing. Beholders hate other creatures. Yes, they do. Noroak, from the way it sounds, it should be more damage to the ship than the people, so I say siege. Okay, so we're keeping siege. Yeah. I mean, I think that's in the vein. I think you're right. Dynamancer, I've got that in my head now. That's cool. So we're going to leave this section here. We don't need to do anything with that. What we do need to deal with is the sheer quantity of damage this thing does, because it has a whole lot of things that it can do, and they're probably going to be way too much. No, it's all right. We got it under control. Hopefully we get this done the way you want it done. So some of the factors we need to consider. First off, we're going to ditch the legendary creature concept. I think that's the first thing that needs to go. I think we ditch that completely. I want to take that and remove it. It's no longer a legendary creature. Okay, and we'll save that version. I think next thing we need to deal with some of the attacks that it makes. So we've got a couple of attacks here. I want your opinion on which ones we should keep, which ones we should get rid of, and if there's something we could add. If you know a monster ability that we can drop in there quickly, it's got Lightning Storm, it's got Fling, and it's got Tentacle, and it's got bite, and it's got multi-attack. So it's a very complicated monster, and for a level 5 monster, I feel like it's doing way too much. I'm fine with having, frankly, I'm fine with it having multiple attacks. That's not the issue. I think the issue that we need to contend with is like, what does it need to keep and what does it need to just ditch? So right now, I'm going to take this bite out at fling. I think I might take all of that out. And let's have a look at the fling. This is much more, this is a bit more toned down, this thing here. Significantly more toned down compared to what we had in the full-blown Kraken. So I'll remove that. And it's got multi-attack, but it uses it this way. It gets 2 instead of 3. Well, let's use this bit here. Drop the Lightning Storm and the Bite. Nerf multi-attack to be 2 attacks and no fling. I think you're right. I think that's where I was thinking. I agree. So we're going to get rid of this. We'll drop this in. Dinomancer. So the Kraken has 2 tentacle attacks. Which it can replace. No. It's just 2 tentacle attacks and no bite. Do we want to drop the bite? I mean, that is something that's usually a. I think what we'll do is multi-attack won't involve the bite, but the tentacles will involve the bite. What I will do is I will still keep the bite and the tentacle, get rid of the Lightning Storm. That makes it super easy for him to run, and then it's all gravy after that. Freedom of movement. I'm even tempted to get rid of the freedom of movement. What do people think about keeping freedom of movement for this Bone Breaker monster? Do we keep it or do we ditch it? I want your opinion. I think right now, so I can use that creature's attacks instead. We could. Hell Giant. Yes. No. So what I can do, so for example, what I would do is I would take the bite, copy that. I'll show you what I mean. Paste. The challenge rating is 5. Challenge rating 5 should have a bonus to their attack of a 6. So 6 is the attack bonus for a bite. 6. So that's sorted out that problem. Its reach is not very far. It's 1 target. The damage we can change. We'll sort that out in a second. It's piercing. We'll adjust that in a second. Yep. So that's all good. We'll go down, and then we'll get the tentacle. And I'll take the tentacle because we still want the tentacle to have something that it's doing. Otherwise, it will be a very boring monster. Paste tentacle. That also needs to be a 6. Okay, so if its proficiency bonus is a 3, that means that its strength, since it's making strength attacks, needs to go down probably to a bonus of a 3. So we'll go down to here. We'll readjust our strength modifier. Where is our strength modifier? To a 16. So it's a 16 plus 3. We could go slightly higher than that. We could go 18. Actually, we'll go 18, 3, 18, and we'll make his attack bonus slightly bigger than it would normally need to be for this challenge rating. So we'll make it a 7. 7. 7. We need to eliminate 1 target, bludgeoning damage. Its DC is way too high. DC for a challenge rating 5 should be 15. So we'll get rid of the DC 15 to escape, 20 to escape, and it's a 15 instead. Its reach is fine. It's supposed to be quite large. Okay, the bone breaker. Bone breaker. Okay. Ditch the freedom of movement. The beholder doesn't want this. Yeah, no, I agree. I was actually thinking it was too much for a creature of this type. Even though it's a large creature, you can have large creatures that have, that are impressive, but they don't have to have too many things going on. That's 4. Okay, so I just need to rewrite some of this. Grappled is grappled. Is grappled. And is restrained. I want to keep those. Okay. Have 10 tentacles each of which can... Yes, that's fine. I don't have a problem with being able to hold more than one individual. That's cool. Okay, so damage output is our next problem. Because we're probably got to be careful about how much damage we're putting out. So right now, this thing can do 2 tentacle attacks at range, and it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be really, really bad. I think I'll just save this too. Oh, the lair actions. I've got to get rid of the lair actions. Let's not have lair actions for this thing. Let's get rid of that as well. And save that. Okay, so calculating and figuring out the lair action stuff. We don't need to worry about that now. Damage. Okay, so what's our average damage for a level 5 monster? 33 to 38 hit points. So our bite is not our primary tool that we want to use. Frankly, I think the bites we could leave alone. So why would you use the bite? You would never use the bite, would you not? You would use the bite if it did something like you could swallow a creature. That's probably where we want to go. Average should be about 40 damage. Yeah, I think I looked at the chart and it should be 33 to 38. So what I'm thinking we'll do with the bite, since you probably would never use it if you're only doing 20 points of damage, is this. Creature reduced to 0 hit points by the bite is swallowed whole. Sorry. Okay, so there is a reason for doing this, because now it's dinner time, which is going to cause all sorts of problems. Well, you're 0 hit points and you're inside a monster. So we'll leave that in there. If anybody has any better ideas to what we should do with bite, you let me know. So let's focus on the tentacle, because that's what we're going to use the most. Right now, 17 points of damage. You get 2. Multiply that by 2 comes to, come on, 10 and 10 is 20, and 2 7s is 14. 34 points of damage. Is 34 points of damage roughly where we need to be? That's fine. Actually, we don't have to change it. Bludgeoning damage. And you can be grappled. And yeah, okay, let's just check to make sure that's all right. I think we've done it. I think we've got it mostly hammered out. It's a very simple monster. It's challenge rating 5. It will still be able to take out ships. And it's still relatively dangerous. We may have to change its challenge rating based off these maths, but other than that, I think we're all good. Yeah, 14. So 34 hit points on average with your tentacles. All right. So if anybody sees anything wrong with this, you let me know. I think what I'm going to do is going to have a quick look at it and see if it's all laid out properly. And if it is, we'll go check its challenge rating, and then we're done. Okay. Save, and now Bone Breaker. Where are you, Bone Breaker? Collection. Bone Breaker. There you are. Bone Breaker. So Gargantuan, Chaotic Evil, armor class, hit points are sitting in the right range. Speed, swim speed is good. Our stats are correct. It's got a lot of saving throws. Do we need all those saving throws? Opinion, people. Do we want all those saving throws? That seems a little bit silly. I actually am tempted to take all the saving throws out. Hashtag, do we remove all the... Because it's not a legendary creature, saving throws. Because it got bonuses to all of them. It's a lot of extra maths to do too. So saving throws. Lightning. Does it need to be immune to lightning? I feel like it is a cousin to the... I feel like this Bone Breaker is kind of like what you expect, related to maybe the Kraken creature in some way. Oh, I've got the word Kraken still in here, so I've got to get rid of that. Frightened and Paralyzed, won't need to worry about those. True Sight, it's got that. Telepathy, but can't speak. Bonuses there. Siege. I think most of that's not too bad. I just need to fix the multi-attack and put in Bone Breaker, makes 2 tentacle attacks instead, don't I? Let's do this. Come on, edit, baby. Load up. Saves are redundant, right? Yeah. Yeah, I think that's exactly what we just need to do, is just get rid of them. I don't think that's going to make any sense whatsoever. Because it is not a legendary creature. It's just a very, very big one. Bone Breaker. Okay, that's multi-attack. We'll go down. Saving throws, saving throws, saving throws. Where are you? Get rid of all of them. Doesn't need them. Save it. Thank you for all your help, Dinomancer. Now, for those of you who are here and feel like you're out of your depth and you don't want to respond, and you just want to watch, that's all good. I understand. Okay, so that is, I think, let's go back and check it. I've saved it. I think I did. I've saved it, and so I just need to check to make sure it's all right, and then we check the maths on it, and then it's done. Okay. Right, my collection. Bone Breaker. Now, we've got that. That's better, that's better, that's better. True Sight at 120 feet. I am tempted to reduce True Sight to 90 feet. Let me see what people think about that. Hashtag. Reduce True Sight. Oh, come on, Fred. Can I spell anything correctly today? True Sight. Question mark. Right, so have a think about the True Sight thing. Telepathy, I'm fine with 120 feet. That's good. At least we can talk with this thing. Everything else looks like it's fine. So let's check the maths on this thing. So going over here, reset. And it should be resetting now. Okay, are you sure? Yes, I do want to reset it. Just reset. Okay, so challenge rating input. Should be 5. I don't know if we've got it right, but we'll see. Should be 15 is the armor class, right? So 15. Doesn't make sense unless you also nerf the telepathy. Okay, hello Shiner81, how are you? I'll tell you what, I'll reduce both. We'll just reduce both. It's not going to affect any of the maths behind this monster. So let's just have a look at how hit points are. No, that's too low. How many hit points is it supposed to have? It's got 140. Hit points at 140. Its armor class is 15. See, normally through thought can't see it. Yeah, no, no. So if I'd reduce true sight and telepathy to 90 feet, that's fine. That can be done. So 15 was the armor class we gave this creature. It's a medium. No, it's gargantuan in size. Its hit dice is a d20, but how many hit dice did we give it? I am at a loss. Gave it 12. 12 hit dice. 12. Constitution is, what was the constitution? Constitution is an 18. 18. It's got a fairly high one. Oh, okay. So actually it's telling me that that's too high. Interesting. You're back to the office now. How are we going? We're almost there. Damage per round, I figured out it was 34, which is where we want to be. We have attack bonuses. Attack bonus is a... Didn't we make it a 7? I think it was a 7. User saving throws. No, it'll be 15. 15. Vulnerabilities. No. Resistances, immunities. It does have a immunity to immunities. Doesn't fly. Can't deal damage from at range. Oh. Monsters effectively. And no, so don't worry about that one. Saving proficiencies. Doesn't have any of those. Okay. So where are we looking? Oh, it's telling me it's way higher than it should be. What have I done? What have I done? Too many hit points is probably part of the problem, right? Defensive hit points. Defensive hit points. How do we trim that down? If I trim down this and make its constitution a little bit less... Is that more within the range? Pretty close. Well, that only dropped it a little bit though. Ooh. Okay, so I've the challenge rating on this thing is way higher than I was expecting. I'm going to have a lot of problems fixing this in a short space of time, people, since I have made a big poo-poos in my calculations here. Constitution's 14, so let's go into edit. Constitution 14. Where is the constitution there? 14. That's not what I was expecting. I thought I had my numbers right, but obviously I haven't. So 14 is what? That's, and the number of hit dice has got to be recalculated as well. So level 5. Well, it's supposed to be level 5, but it's not level 5. It's actually a lot higher than that. I have to reduce the number of hit dice, don't I? Which is going to be... Do I go down 1? No. 5. Okay, so we'll go down 1. So we go 11, 14. We wind up with 137 hit points. Okay. Okay, so 137. We go down to 11 hit die. And that means that so 11 twos are, what is it? Number of hit die you have, a constitution modifier, so it's 1122. I think that's what it's supposed to be. Drop the dex to 1. Maybe that's what's going on here. I hadn't thought about that, dude. Drop the dex to 1. It doesn't calculate dex into this. That's the only factor that I think that's that's the only thing I can think of. The dex is already low, so I don't think that's going to make any difference. Okay, so let me save that. Oh, I need to change the sensors too, don't I? because it's sensors and it's language. Its language is too far a range. Granted, edited 120 feet. So we're going to go 90 feet. 90 feet. 90. Save it. And then after that, it is sensors. I'm going to go edit 90 feet. Save. The immunity to lightning, replace it with resistance. Well, we could do that, but I'm actually tempted. Let's just take it right out. Let's just take out the immunity completely. That may be what's ballsing it all up, because it doesn't really need to have it. It doesn't really need to have it. Let's just do that. That might be what kicked it over the top. Let's get rid of the immunity. Where is it? Immunities? None. Bam. What did that do? Dropped it to 5. There's the fix. That's how big an effect it had. It added 5 levels to the challenge rating. Okay, we fixed it. Whoa. Thank you, Dinomancer. That was a good move. Yeah, we we got it where we needed it to be. So it is now actually going to operate the way we want it to. And I'll save. So Nacho, I think we got it fixed. A little bit of fiddling around, but I think ultimately in the end, it's going to come out the way that we want it to, which is it'll be the right level for your group. And it will do the things that it's supposed to do, and the damage output is going to be fine, and the number of hit points it has, all that sort of stuff, looks like it's working out all right. So ultimately in the end, sweet as. Okay, cool, right, that did it. Well done, Dinomancer. Good move. I didn't even think that immunity would have added so much to the challenge rating. It did. It was huge effect. Massive. In any case, we have at least fixed that problem. And I am quite happy because it means that I can say I've got it done. Nacho, you've got a monster coming. And Dinomancer gets I'm cooking in here. Dinomancer gets an A+ for helping me out, because really it's actually quite complicated sometimes to figure out what's going on when you're doing some of these monsters. But we got it there, and that's the main thing. In any case, I got to go to work. So, tomorrow, what are we doing tomorrow? I'm doing the wizard, beginner character creation. People who are asking me right now, Fred, why have we not had the paladin and the ranger? It's simply because I had technical issues with my camera, and I did not get time to sit down with my friends and figure out what we would tell people about the ranger and the paladin. So I just did not have time to organize that. That does not mean that in following weeks we won't get the paladin and the ranger, because we will. It's just I'm doing it because I've got no other choice. You were surprised? How's it going, Dino? Dungeons and Chronics, welcome. All right, so let me get this over here. I just want to say thank you to all of my patrons who support me on Patreon. I do really appreciate it. Thank you very much. I want to thank everybody who's been part of this live stream and is watching my live streams. Thank you very much. I want to have a special call out to Dinomancer, who really pulled out all the last minute ideas to help get me in the right direction. I was kind of heading in that direction, but I needed a little bit of help. And thank you very much, Dinomancer, who is also a patron for those of you who don't know. Nacho Man, your idea about let's do something with a squid, we now have Bone Breaker as a monster. And I want to thank everybody who's been watching my live streams and been part of the community here and watching my edited videos and putting up with my shorts. I've got to do it. It's YouTube. So wherever you are in the world, whether it be the morning, the afternoon, or the night, please look after yourself, your family, and your friends. Be nice to your neighbours. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.